So this is the Hookii Neomow X. It's an autonomous lawnmower. I've had it for a couple weeks now. I thought I'd do a quick review. The difference between this mower and a lot of the others is instead of having to run a wire around the perimeter of your yard like a dog fence, you don't have to do that at all. It has a LiDAR on top, and the LiDAR should see all obstacles and go around them automatically. So the Neomow X I got from Kickstarter. We waited a lot longer than we expected, as always goes with Kickstarter. And of course it arrived at the end of the summer in October when I don't need to cut the lawn much anymore. But I've had several weeks now to play around with it and test it out. So I'm going to give you a quick review and show you actually how good it is. I'm very impressed with it, how easy it is to use, and stay tuned to find out why I can't use it. The Neomow ships in one large box. Inside the box is instructions and a charger, and basically just the mower and the dock. So this is the Neomow. It's a good size, but not too heavy at all, actually. Easy to lift up. You can see there's a pretty large cutting deck underneath, and that changes height pretty impressively. So set that height. It works pretty well. It's really easy to set up. The perimeter, you drive it around the perimeter of various sections of your yard. Save that to the map. I'll show you that in the app. And then it goes on its merry way. Installation is pretty simple. You take the dock, plug in the charger, and then they give you these ground screws that you can screw into the ground to secure it. And then you push the mower into the dock and the light will come on and it'll start charging. Then just hold down the power button and it whirs to life. The Neomow app is pretty simple to use. It starts up with a couple setup instructions, and then once it's powered up, you can pair the mower to the phone. Once it's paired, it will probably update the firmware, and then you're ready to map. So that's also done through the app. You can hit the Start Map button. It pulls out of the dock, and you can use the app to control the mower. The first time mapping gives you a couple instructions, and then you use the buttons on your phone screen to drive the mower around, ideally the perimeter of the mowing area of your yard. It's pretty simple to do, left, right, forward, back, and I've sped this up here so it doesn't take forever, but as you can see, I'm drawing a mowing area that's a flatter part of my yard so that I can successfully mow this. Ideally, you drive the mower back to the beginning of the mowing area that you started with. You can also draw pathways over to the base or between multiple mowing areas. And that's pretty much all there is for setup. You can start mowing right away. The mower is actually super quiet. You can barely hear the blades turning, maybe just hitting the leaves here. For the most part, it does straight rows back and forth, makes some pretty nice lines. Doesn't seem to be affected by the leaves at all. It cuts the grass pretty well. You can use the app to pick whatever cutting depth you want. I believe this was a 5 centimeter depth. And while it's mowing, you can follow along in the app and watch it go. Gives you a little time there. The mowing seems to be pretty straightforward. Once in a while it seems to find some kind of obstacle and it'll go over that spot, doesn't leave anything. But you can see it mostly makes a line, then it stops to kind of, I don't know what it's doing there. Now my hope was to create a map and not bother with anything in the middle of it. But as you can see here, I've got an obstacle that I did not map around initially, and it does not really detect it and gets a little stuck. So I think the problem here is the stones are just a little bit too low. You need something more vertical. It'll definitely go around anything vertical. Either put a fence around it, or the reality is you're just going to put a little no-go zone around anything like this. And you can see here from another angle, it's even worse. So I just added a no-go zone to the map, which involves just driving around it, and it's good after that. Now this spot of the yard does have a fairly steep hill to it, and I was worried that it would make it up, but the reality is I had absolutely no problem with this. I think it's because the grass is just dense here. The mower does struggle a little bit here on these steeper spots, but it never gave up. It got around them, kept going, and managed to do this whole section of the yard without any trouble. And so when it's done mowing a section, or you want it to go back and charge, you hit a button and it comes all the way back to the charger. I drew a path along my driveway and it drove all the way back. In fact, this highlighted a little issue I had with the app here where I could not zoom out far enough to view the whole map. In fact, the steering buttons were blocking the two mow zones here. But now for the real issue for me. Some parts of my yard are much steeper and the grass is not very dense, and it had a lot of trouble with this. In fact, this is like day one and it constantly kept getting stuck and couldn't get out of the situation. In fact, I noticed a lot of times where it would spin the tires basically 3 times and completely give up, and you'd get a red error light and it will basically sit there all day until you fix it. Here's the error I get in the app. I've reported it to them. Hopefully they fix it. That section of lawn, by the way, was only 14-degree slope. I have other sections over 30 degrees, so this definitely is not going to handle these. It certainly is not typical of most yards though, so for a yard like mine, I'm just going to have to pull out the big guns. So that's the Hookii Neomow X. It's super easy to use. I would recommend this to almost everyone. Super easy to set up, and should work in most yards with minimal effort. I just can't use it because of all the extreme grades in my yard and variable conditions. But for most people, this is going to work great. Stay tuned for upcoming reviews.